If you've been wondering if you're missing something when it comes to your health, when it comes to your weight, when it comes to your healthy lifestyle, that no matter what you do, you can't seem to have the energy you want, the body confidence, or even just physically, like you feel like it's hard to manage your weight, hard to manage your health, and hard to boost your metabolism, this episode is for you. Today, I am joined by the amazing Dr. Marisa Snyder, who is a functional practitioner, women's health expert, and the author of 8 amazing books. Her most recent one is coming out in a week, and that's the Essential Oils Menopause Solution. For the past 10 years, she's lectured at wellness centers, conferences, and corporations on hormone health, essential oils, nutrition, and detoxification. She has been featured at Dr. Oz's, Oprah Magazine, Fox News Health, Mind, Body, Green, and many other publications. She's also the host of the top-rated Essentially You podcast, which is designed to empower women to become the CEO of their health. And so this is her second appearance on the podcast, and I'm just really excited to share with you the amazing things she's talked about around boosting your metabolism naturally, really figuring out simple ways that you can support your hormones so your hormones can support you. And so enjoy this episode, but make sure you do a few things after this episode. One, make sure that you sign up for my newsletter if you're not on it yet to get these weekly episodes delivered to you each and every Tuesday. Go to madewell345.com/podcast episodes and you can sign up there, or the show notes. Make sure you join me live this Thursday as I'm doing a live training on my top tips to balance your essential oils, your hormones naturally and feel good in your body again. But also, please make sure you go and buy her newest book, the Essential Oils Menopause Solution. If you're in the perimenopause or menopause stage, or you just think that you want to really arm yourself with the knowledge and tools to really support your body as it enters that stage, then this book is for you. All right. So you can find access to my newsletter, you can find access to my Facebook group, and access to the link for her book, all in the show notes. All right. Enjoy this episode, and I can't wait to hear your takeaways. You're listening to the More Than Your Weight podcast, and I am Brianna Wilkerson, your host. For over half my life, I've had to really pay attention to my relationship with food, my body, and myself. As a high schooler, I just started to find my worth in my weight, in my work, and really started to define my beauty, my body, my value through how I looked. That led to disordered ways of eating, of exercising, and really just not appreciating my body in word and in action. And then when I started to really realize that my worth was not in my weight and that my value was way more beyond than what the scale could ever tell me, I found breakthrough and freedom. And it has been my mission ever since to help other women do the same. I'm on a mission to see other women find peace with food, feel confident in their body again, and develop a healthy lifestyle that's more than about their weight. I don't think weight loss is a bad thing, but I do think when we're approaching it from a place of wanting to find our worth, our value, and our beauty in it, then we have to take a second thought and ask ourselves if that's right or not. All right, so on this podcast, I want to help you find freedom. I want to help you see that you can have peace with food. You can feel confident in your body again, and you can develop a healthy lifestyle and cherish the body that you're in and know that it's more than about your weight. So you're going to find solo episodes, you're going to find guest interviews, you're going to find episodes where I'm going to just talk from the heart and from the soul and really support you in developing a healthy lifestyle that is mind, body, and soul. And of course, because I'm an essential oils lover, I might drop in an essential oil episode from time to time. So I'm just so glad you're here and so honored to be on this version of the podcast with you. So be sure to listen in, rate, review, and also make sure you join my free Facebook group, the More Than Your Weight Women's Community. This is a space where you can unpack all these episodes and more. And also follow me on Insta. I'm there every day, sharing behind the scenes of my life and sharing tips to support you in your journey. It's a privilege to journey with you, and I can't wait for you to listen to this next episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have on with us again Dr. Marisa Snyder to talk a little bit about resetting your hormones, losing weight naturally, and boosting energy. But I really want her to talk. She'll probably talk about this, just about the beautiful book she's just written on essential oils for perimenopause and menopause. And this is just a stage of life so many women are in. I'm not in that stage of life right now, but a lot of the clients I serve and even just the women I talk to just struggle so much and they think it's normal. But as you shared in your book and the summit and all your work,
there's a way to get around a lot of these symptoms. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here today.
Yeah. So I just wanted you to kind of share a little bit more about your story and what really got you into this particular field around helping women and women's health and hormones.
Absolutely. Well, I think, the biggest part of the reason why I do this beautiful work, I love to serve women, is that for most of my adult life, since I can remember, I had hormone issues. And my mama had hormone issues, my sister had hormone issues, my grandmother had hormone issues. And I have a feeling millions of other women are struggling with hormones as well. And started when I was 17, 18 years old, I was having period problems and went to the doctor, and they were like, you know what, we could shut your period off entirely with this shot, with the Depo-Provera shot. And I went on that thinking that that was the way that you handled your menstrual cycle. And I thought like, oh, this is so great. But the symptoms that ensued because I was on this crazy, crazy shot was insane. Horrible headaches, migraines. I gained more weight. I had a horrible pill, like Depo-Provera shot bleeds. It was just a hot mess. And what a really interesting statistic is that 50% of women who go on to birth control actually get off of birth control within a year because the symptoms are so severe. And that was me. By the time I was like 19, I chucked the shot. Took me a year to get my cycle back on track, like to even it come back online. Like that is some major post-birth control syndrome, which so many women are dealing with. And then spent the most of my 20s ignoring my cycle as women did then. Thank goodness we're educating more and more women. And I ran like a freight train. I was addicted to stress. I was a certified stressaholic, and I ran as fast as I could until one day I literally just Mack trucked into some severe chronic fatigue. I was 30 years old. I was in practice. I was seeing patients, and a lot of the women that I was seeing were in their 40s and 50s and were exhibiting a lot of different symptoms: brain fog, hot flashes, insomnia, weight issues, all across the board. And their doctors had them on, anti-anxiety medications, cholesterol medications. They had them on migraine meds, and just treating all of these issues separately when it was all collectively due to some serious hormonal imbalances with some root cause components. And I remember them coming to me with a slew of these, and I was looking literally at a mirror of myself. I was 30. I wasn't 40 yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to figure this out. I was crawling through life, and went to a doctor who specialized in hormones, thinking that she was going to have the cure of all cures. And we ran my labs, and everything was hot mess central. Everything was off. And she gave me 2 prescriptions. One was birth control, which was a hell no. And then the other one was Xanax, which was also a hell no. So I walked out of that doctor's office defeated, just disillusioned by the whole process, like of what I thought I was going to get, and determined to figure out how to really heal my body, how to overcome this massive chronic fatigue where I was dragging myself from one thing to the next. And I also realized as I was sitting in my car that day, just trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself, that I knew so many other women just like myself were walking through that door, heading into her office for the same issues, and she was going to provide them with the same scripts. And I knew that I needed to be a part of the solution to helping women actually really navigate what's really going on with their bodies, and to do it in a natural way that didn't involve a bunch of medications that weren't going to do anything for them. So here we are 10 plus years later.
Yeah, and you've just done so much since then. I mean, we just talked. Is this your ninth book?
It's my
eighth book. You have an amazing podcast. You have, you do a tarot. Like you just have so many things. And did all that happen in like 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, all that happened in less than 10 years. Yeah, less than 10 years. Yes.
Wow, so amazing. I mean, I just think the work.
It's amazing when you get your chronic fatigue under control.
What you can do. And even the fact, to give you a testament, I know you just had a beautiful baby boy. It's like you did a lot while pregnant with him. You were probably finishing up the book. You put together a summit, and you had him, and then you hosted a summit. You're doing this book launch, and it's like, yeah, I think different people have different energy levels, but I think a lot of the work you did in taking care of your body allowed you to do that too. Mm-hmm. So boost of energy right there. So, this podcast is about really supporting women in, sustainable weight loss. As you and I know that weight isn't the only thing we should really consider around your health, but it does play a factor, right? And so before we even talk a little bit about the hormones that impact your weight, I would just love for you to talk about that, just the idea that I think us women, we're so caught up in that scale number and we're ignoring all the other health things going on in our lives. So what are some of the other things that we could think about in regards to that could just be health indicators for us that we should strive towards?
Opposed to opposed to a number on the scale.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that, at least for me, and I speak, and I've surveyed tens of thousands of women over the years, mostly women in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s. Usually when we start to notice that our resilience and our capacity is definitely beginning to change and shift, all of a sudden, again, us freight training through life, we are not able to do it as effectively as we used to. So I think one of the biggest indicators for health for so many of us is going to be energy. Is how do I feel at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? How do I feel at 7 o'clock at night? Like how do I feel when I wake up in the morning? Am I literally dragging my booty out of bed just to start the day? So I think that's a big indicator. The other big indicator, at least for me, is overall well-being, happiness, joy. How do I want to feel that day in terms of how I want to show up, how I want to show up for my son, how I want to show up for my family, how I want to show up for you. I asked myself that before we got on this interview. I was like, how do I want to show up for her today, in this moment? Despite that, I'm like, because I was racing around like a little Tasmanian devil trying to get ready because I had just fed my son. I was, and so I was like, okay, center up. How do I want to show up? And I think those are major indicators for how we're feeling. Also, if we're getting a good night's sleep, hopefully many of us who don't have brand new babies aren't doing night feedings, are getting good sleep, right? And so I would say those are some of the biggest indicators. And then I would say brain function. Are you feeling sharp? Are you feeling alert? Are you feeling like you're firing on all cylinders? Or all of a sudden you forgot the next word in the sentence? I think those are really big indicators for overall health for us as women, because I know that we are trying to show up in the world, not only for our families, but for every, whoever we're serving, whatever our mission is. And if those things aren't locked in and we're running like a fine-tuned machine, we are going to notice. Those will be the things. I mean, those for me, those are the indicators when I am functioning properly or when things are off the rails.
Yeah, no, I think those are very important, because at the end of the day, I think when we want, when women want to lose weight, they want those things. They think weight loss is the key to, and maybe it is, but actually, I think sometimes it's the things they're doing to lose weight, like, eating more nutritiously, exercising, that is giving them that energy, that vitality, that brain function. So I just wanted someone else to share that too. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. So since we're talking about hormones and weight, what would you say is the most common hormonal imbalances that cause us to hold on to stubborn weight or have weight resistance?
Mm-hmm. Well, you think about what is our core mode of operation. I know a lot of us may think, maybe it's taking care of family or whatever that may be. No, core mode is survival. So your body is going to choose survival over anything. The problem is that your brain is trying to disseminate what survival is like, when is it necessary to go into survival mode? And what used to be a good reason was when we were being chased by somebody or we were trying to get food in the wilderness. We were literally trying to survive. Today, when we go into survival mode, it is because your mama just sent you a text about your sister. You were on Instagram and you felt triggered. You are running late to a meeting or to a doctor's appointment for your baby or yourself or whoever. You've got an endless to-do list. I ain't going to show you mine, girl, because it's a little embarrassing right here. She and I are on video right now, and you're just trying to get through this to-do list. And then you go to sleep at night and you maybe got through half of it and it rolls over the next day, right? And so every time that happens, you trigger up a stress response system. And when we trigger up the stress response system, two things go on. Your central nervous system gets jacked up. That sympathetic nervous system fires off into survival mode. But then your hormones are involved as well. And the big hormone player, not that they're trying to do that job 24/7, but
cortisol is the big player here. So initially, you fire off a stress response signal to the brain sends it to the pituitary gland sends a message to the adrenals that says epinephrine, fire. And then if things don't settle down, which they oftentimes don't, because we're constantly in an I'm busy, I got stuff to do, I don't have time mode, cortisol fires. And the problem with cortisol is that it tells the body to conserve energy. It's trying to get you to handle business. But the number one job of cortisol is to regulate insulin. And insulin is a hormone that we got to pay a lot of attention to. It's the hormone that tells the body to bring glucose into the cells and into the liver. And when insulin begins to become deregulated because we're crying wolf all the time, then we start to store fat. We start to store fat in the liver. We start to store adipose tissue in our belly, hence the belly fat. And we just don't go into fat burning mode very easily. And so this is kind of like this hormone, and if you bring in the trifecta, then cortisol can also wear your thyroid down as well. And so you've got that hormone trifecta of, I call it the hormone hierarchy, where we throw off our mitochondrial function, which is our energy producers for every single cell in the body. And we literally throw our metabolism into shambles. And so that's when we start to put on that weight. And until we get off the rat race roller coaster of spiking our stress response system up over and over again, where our bodies are going to just keep doing the thing that they think is the best thing for us, which is, again, survival and conservation, which is to store.
And I think it's interesting you mentioned cortisol, insulin, and thyroid hormones. You didn't mention estrogen or progesterone. And I just think that most women, when we hear of hormones, that's the ones we think of, rightfully so, and testosterone and all that. But I just love how you pointed out, and you really, you show us the whole picture, that there's so many other hormones going on in your body, and ones that we're like, oh, it's okay that I live in a high stress environment all the time. You're like, no, it's not, because that is going to cause the weight resistance. That is going to actually deplete you of energy and so forth. So I just love that you pointed out that. So I have another question. So can emotional factors affect hormone levels and have an effect on weight? So you mentioned stress is one of those hormone emotions. Can other emotions impact that? And if so, what are some simple solutions that you have? I know you're all about simple self-care solutions, and you have all that in your book. But tell us a little bit more about how emotions impact our hormones.
Absolutely. I think, we're especially talking about on this podcast, I'm sure a lot of what comes up is, the feeling of shame, the feeling of anger, the feeling of unworthiness, and all of that plays a role. It ties back into the stress piece, the need to overachieve, the need to overproduce, to over show up, to over Peloton, over workout, whatever that is, right? And to kind of, not feel so shameful, to not feel so unworthy. So that absolutely plays into how our body functions. It plays, again, into the stress response system. It plays into our energy production, and it plays into overall opting into things that are high producing versus high nourishing. And that can have a major tailspin on us as well. It has an effect on our gut microbiome. It has an effect on our anxiety levels, and how we're kind of managing the day. For me, it's all interconnected. But yeah, it all leads back to cortisol and insulin too. I mean, you can absolutely throw insulin out and create insulin resistance through just being so hard on yourself. And it's no wonder we find ourselves kind of in this like scary catch-22 where we just keep finding this spiral where we're not having a lot of success, but we're really beating ourselves up about it.
Yeah, I just love that. I think, just the fact that you pointed out that how much even our mental and our emotional well-being impacts our physical well-being. And I just think we don't really see that from time to time. And, the other day, I think I was at the end of my cycle, because my period, by the way, came back super early. And I was like, oh, well, hello. But, I was towards the end, I was feeling a little like, all these emotions. And I just was like, why am I feeling? I'm like, oh, okay. But I just realized that I physically wasn't doing well because I actually allowed my emotions and my mind to just start thinking more negative things during that time. I'm a little bit more prone to that. And I'm not well. I'm like, my stomach is hurting and all that. I'm like, oh, this is what's going on. What's going on mentally? What's going on emotionally? How can you process that? How can you talk it through? How can you use oils too? By the way, I used one of your blends. I forget which one it was. I was like, get that blend that she talked about. And yeah, and just really support myself. And then, yeah, I noticed by caring for myself mentally, emotionally, physically, I felt a lot better very soon on.
It's so important. I love that. I had recently done an interview with a woman. She's called the Period Queen. Her name's Lucy, and she looks at all the emotional states of our menstrual cycle and the four phases of our menstrual cycle. And so often people want women to be in phase 2 and 3. Phase 2 is right when we're heading into ovulation, right? We're in our zone. We're happy. We're carefree. We're like the everyday woman you see in a commercial. And then you've got ovulation where you're super cuddly and you're loving up on everybody and you're super nurturing and everyone loves that woman too, right? And then we head into the luteal phase of our cycle where progesterone is supposed to come on up. And then as we head to the end of our luteal cycle, those hormones dip. Progesterone and estrogen both dip. Progesterone being a really feel good, relaxing hormone. And when it takes a nosedive, we really feel it. And all of a sudden, our tolerance for BS just disappears, right? We become a different person. Definitely we can kind of get stuck in a rut too, but it's really the time where we get to look at that part of our cycle at the end of our luteal phase, maybe like day 25, day 24, day 26, whatever that may be. And it's really a time to love up on ourselves. It's kind of like the take phase. Like it's time for me time. And maybe it's time for me to express some other emotions. Right. I don't have to be, super cheerleader, happy-go-lucky, go, nurturing all the time. Maybe I get to feel into that too, especially because that's what our hormones are doing. They are decreasing. They are not binding to those receptor sites in the brain that are firing off those feel good chemicals and feel good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. And so I think, I really want to reframe as, I know that it's not always fun. Definitely that part of our cycle isn't always the fun time, but I think that there's a part of us that we can embrace that. Yeah. Maybe there's more creativity. Maybe there's definitely more self-care. Maybe there's definitely more carbs allowed. You know what I'm saying? And we just get to live a little bit more in the nurturing ourselves mode in that. And so I think that we need to have more of that conversation about how we get to love up on our bodies and maybe not be about everybody else at that moment. And I think that is perfectly okay. And clearly it's what we're meant to do when it comes to our cycle.
Yeah. I just love how you pointed that out. Like, this is like a biological thing that's happening that so many of us in our mind, you talked about shame and guilt. We feel like, why don't I have control in those moments? Why am I like, but it's like, your body is actually going through this, it's this natural thing. It's just like the seasons,
It's just telling you we're new season, honey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, new season, it's this season's about you. I know you're not used to it. And I know you're going to fight it all the way. I mean, how many of us have like trained our way through that part of our cycle and hated every minute of it, or tried to like really show up for somebody and just couldn't do it. And it's not that season.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And I mean, sometimes we gotta make concessions, but at the end of the day, it's really, I used to go to my Orange Theory classes like the day of my cycle, a day before my period, and it was so hard. It was so hard. I just fought my way through it. I was exhausted by the end of it. I was so depleted. And I just remember always like, okay, well, this is the part of my cycle. I just got to really fight through this whole process. Yeah. And it was never the right decision.
Yes, no. And you want to know what? At that moment, I've been going through this show 911, if anyone listens. It's about EMT and firefighters. Anyways, and I just was like, I'm going to watch a few episodes. I know I can be productive right now, but this is what I need. And for the first time ever, I was like, this is just what I need. And it's okay because I know me and I'm going to get it all done. And so it's trusting yourself as well.
You're always going to get it all done. What woman doesn't get it all done?
Yes.
Right. I mean, I have never worried about that. I have always been in such awe of women. I am obsessed with women. That's why I do the work I do, because there is nobody who gets done what women can get done.
All we need is your Superwoman's blend and we'll get it done.
Yeah, exactly. Just a Superwoman blend and you are set to go. But I promise you, it ain't coming off your list just because you decide to take a moment to yourself that you deserve.
Yeah, it's just going over. We have the
Yeah.
little migrating system that the bullet journal people have. We just migrate it to the next day.
Mhm.
So, you kind of talked a little bit about metabolic hormones. So if someone's like wanting to reset that or kind of jumpstart their metabolism in natural ways without taking a supplement that they probably shouldn't take, what can they do?
So there's a couple things that we can do. Food is everything, right? That is the ticket. No surprise. Everyone's like, oh, womp womp. But it's true. It is everything. Food is medicine. And I always say, start with a morning routine. If you can make it happen. I love a metabolic boosting routine. I mean, my focus is always good protein, especially as we head into our 40s and 50s. We become like we start to muscle atrophy. And so we've got to step up not only the strength training, but also protein intake. So, and especially at breakfast, whether at least that first meal of the day. I don't know if you're intermittent fasting or not, what you've got going on, whether it's a 12-hour fast or whatever it may be, but that first meal, you've got to have it protein heavy. Every meal's got to be protein heavy for us as women. We just have got to build up and it's how we also get our insulin levels back on track as well, when we get those muscles going and they're soaking up all that glucose.
Yeah.
So I love my metabolic boosting routine is first thing in the morning, drink your water, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of mint, whatever, even cucumbers. I've got so many recipes on this and there's so many fun ways to do it. We just always have it in the fridge. It's the first thing I do is drink a big glass of water, like 16 to 20 ounces. So I just prep up my gut and my liver. Next, if you're a coffee drinker or a matcha drinker, I want people swapping out their sugar creamers, their delectable dessert I always say, just try cinnamon in your coffee. Just try cinnamon in your coffee for 7 days, see what happens. Cinnamon is great for regulating insulin levels. And then whatever protein you can get in, whether it's a shake, a green smoothie, it's eggs, if you can tolerate them. It's maybe yogurt or coconut yogurt, if you can tolerate that as well. But just a way to get like at least 20 to 25 grams of protein in the morning, kind of create that metabolic boosting routine out the gate. But then really focus again on clean proteins, healthy fats, and as many colors of the rainbow, like a lot of fiber. Like I'm talking about 35 to 40 grams of fiber every single day, so that your gut is working, your estrobolome is clearing estrogen, you're pooping, all the things, and you're stabilizing sugar levels there. And that's really the first step. And then the second is making sure that you've got the key nutrients that you need for your gut to function, for your hormones to function, and for your liver to function. Most women are nutrient deficient because of the conversation we had earlier, because we deplete very, very quickly when we are running around handling business, right? When we are in rushing woman mode, say goodbye to magnesium, say goodbye to B vitamins, say goodbye to choline and iron and zinc, because you are burning through them like nobody's business. So just look into, you can test a lot for vitamins, things like vitamin D, you can test ferritin and iron, you can test for magnesium, you can test for certain B vitamins. Look and see where you're at with that. Most of us are deficient, and I really recommend people filling in those nutrient gaps. So those are the first two things. And then over all of that is mindset. Yeah. Just really knowing and believing that you are worthy of good food. You are worthy of self-care. You are worthy of taking care of you and focusing on you. And you are worthy of, of having the energy that you want. That's going to be another big piece of that. So that's my start. It's just adding the things in. And then I always say that you cannot green smoothie your way out of chronic stress.
Yes.
Yeah, it will help. It will help. It definitely will get you a little bit there. But again, if you're running on fumes and you're depleted, again, that magnesium will help. It will give your mitochondria what it needs to a degree, and so then you have to bring in some level of self-care, and it doesn't have to be super fancy. It's never fancy for me. My best friend's coming into town this weekend, and she's like, you want to go get your nails done? Like, let's get you out of the house. We'll leave the baby with the boys. And I was like, I'm not getting my nails done because it's toxic and I'm breastfeeding. So they are not, I have not had my nails painted since when I got pregnant. And number two, it's, for me, that's not self-care.
Right.
I want to walk
Exactly.
on the
Yeah.
beach.
Mhm.
I want to get a matcha. You know
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? You know what I'm saying? And so those are the things that I'm going to get to do with her this weekend with our little 2-hour little jaunt
Little
outside. And
window.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. So
No,
yeah, so
yeah.
nature, loving yourself, making a tea for yourself, breathing in an essential oil,
Mhm.
whatever it is, just punctuate throughout the day.
Yeah. No, yeah, those are great. And I love that because it's so simple, yet we make it a little bit more complicated. It's just eat good food and nourish your body. Like, stop seeing food as something that's just about your weight or just about a diet or just about your scale. See it as nourishment. That's actually what nutrition means. It's like the Latin word is to nourish. And so
Yeah, to fuel.
Yeah.
Your cells need to eat.
Yes.
They need to that's your
It's
cells
like
need energy.
give yourself permission to eat right there. I just
Yeah.
think and that's the problem with so many diets. Like, I think there's a time and place for a certain diet, but we're just depleting ourselves. And so your body's smart. It's like, that's why when you constantly go on that diet roller coaster cycle, it's like, oh, hold on to everything because she's going to go into famine mode. And it's like, no, feast your body, but feast it with good things. Like,
absolutely. Well, and a little bit of a side note is I have an autoimmune condition,
Mhm.
Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
Yeah.
And there are certain things there are foods that are inflammatory that will
Right.
drive up that thyroid issue. And that depletes me, and that doesn't give me the energy I need to win, to do the things I want to do in life. And so there are foods that are off of my list,
Right.
but only because they create inflammation and disease in the body.
Yeah.
It's not connected to weight for me. It's connected to health and vitality. And if I want to fuel my body, I always say food is moving you closer or away from inflammation. And we want to eat the foods that are moving us further away from inflammation, moving us towards a state of harmony and where your body's really thriving. And so, there are sugar's one of those foods. I ain't gonna lie. I've got family history of diabetes in my family. When insulin's off, thyroid's off even more. And so, there are certain foods that I find, if you figure out you've got those intolerances, and then love your body enough to chuck them to the side. But I wouldn't say that it's ever a focus for me as weight, because for me, weight is it's so often it's a side effect of inflammation too.
Right. Yeah.
And so we got to always, figure out what's driving the inflammation in our bodies. And I think that's where true health comes from.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about your new book then, right? So
Okay.
you wrote the Essential Oils Hormone Solution, which was an amazing book. I remember, I think I was like on a plane to the Philippines for some missions trip, and I just was like, I'm going to carry this book because I want to read it. And it was just,
I'm going to carry this heavy book. I love it.
It was the stack. I think I had yours and Dr. Jolene's. I just was like wanting to learn as much about hormones. And so it was just amazing. I read through it in all in one setting, but you came out with the second one about essential oils and kind of menopause solutions. So tell us a little bit, what drove you to want to, write this second book?
Absolutely. Yes. I was on the book tour for the EO Hormone Solution, and I was meeting so many amazing women. I met thousands of women, and a big chunk of those women were in their 40s and their 50s. And when I was signing the books, every single one of those women asked me, is there something in here for me? Because I feel I feel put to the wayside. I feel unheard. And I feel, I feel like my doctors don't have my best interest at heart. I heard this over and over and over again. It just broke my heart. And I remember I was in the middle of that book tour. One of the nights I went home and I wrote a proposal for this book because I wanted women to feel like they could see themselves in it. And that was the deal. I wrote a 5-page book proposal and sent it to my publishing house. And they were like, this is the book we hoped you wanted to write. And they approved it. And I started writing it in the summer of 2019. So yeah, 6 months after the other book came out, I started working on this book. And that was the impetus for it. I really wanted women to see themselves in that, what I consider to be like a 20 plus year span in this book with solutions that were well researched, that were all natural, that they could implement themselves in the comfort of their own home. That was what mattered most to me.
Well, tell us a little bit about, so say we get this book, which mine is on the way. Well, it comes out in April, so mine is coming soon. I'm really excited for it. But, like if they were, someone were to buy it, what kind of things would they learn? And, and obviously essential oils is going to be part of it, but what are some other things around perimenopause and menopause?
So it's very root cause driven. Most doctors, if they recommend anything to you, it's going to be, if you go into the office, they're going to recommend birth control pills. They're going to recommend hormone replacement, synthetic hormone replacement like Premarin, and it just nasty stuff. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily help our bodies. Cholesterol medications, antidepressant medications, anti-anxiety medications. Those are typically the most of the medications that women are going to get in their 40s and their 50s, and not really going to help solve the problem. So I wanted to show women why, because that's the question we all should be asking our doctors is like, why do I have fibroids? Why am I having night sweats? Why am I struggling with my sleep? Why do I have no energy? These are the questions we should be asking. And so I went and deep dove into all the root causes for every major symptom that women experience during perimenopause and menopause. And then after giving them the why, so that they felt heard, they felt like they understood what was going on with their bodies, laid out all of the best research in solutions. So from essential oils, recipes, to supplementation and self-care, all of that's in the chapters of part 1 and 2. And then in part 3 is a 21-day hormone reset, hormone makeover plan, specifically for women in their 40s and their 50s. We've had thousands of women already go through it with phenomenal results. And so it's so fun. And it's all there. Everything that they need is in there in the book that they can implement. And there's so much grace in it, that the goal is really to get women into that vibrant, confident, eased state where they feel like they're really rocking the next phase of their life.
I'm so excited. It's just, obviously I'm in my early 30s at this point, but even after having a kid, well, before that, I've just felt like, okay, this is not my 20s. And so, knowing that my 30s and my 40s and 50s is just going to be different. Like, I feel very blessed to have people like you and so many others who are leading the way in this and speaking up for women in a time where, I think in your interview in one of your summits with, Dr. Northrup, she just talked about that's half of our life is in this perimenopause and menopause phase that no one really is supporting us in. I just love that you're doing that through your book and your work and so many things. So where can people buy your book and learn more about you? I know you have so many great resources and blog, but where can they find you on the web?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite place to go if you're on social is going to be Instagram. It's at Dr. Marisa. I love to connect there. The next place is my podcast, Essentially You, which is devoted entirely to women's hormone health and mindset and everything connected to all things just supporting women and nourishing women. And then the book, we actually have a book bonus page. Clearly it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes & Noble, it's all the places. But the book bonus page has our menopause toolkit for perimenopause and menopausal women. And it's drmarisa.com/menopause book. And there we have $500 worth in bonuses, including chapters that didn't make it into the book, master classes, all kinds of cheat sheets, shopping guides for the 21-day program. It's a companion guide or companion toolkit that goes with the book. And so you get the book, you get the toolkit, and you're set to go.
Wow. I am so excited. Hopefully everyone else is too. Yeah. So, just thank you so much again. I just feel like every time you come on, I just want to transcribe everyone, your episodes, just because there's so much great things that you're talking about. You're a wealth of information, but I think it's your heart for really just to see women healthy and thriving and be the CEO of their health. And just so grateful for you and your work.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks. So guys, be sure to check out all the show notes where you're going to get links for all of that. Make sure you grab her book. It comes out this month, and make sure you check out all of her great stuff. So thanks, guys.
Whew, what an amazing episode with Dr. Marisa. I hope that you are leaving just encouraged and inspired to really take care of your health as a woman. In the first episode that I had with her, I think it was episode 106 or 109 or something, she talked about how we're always hormonal. And I think she even highlighted that here in this episode that, women, we don't just have those female hormones, we have over 50 plus hormones that are really working together to support our body. But sometimes they get out of whack. And so this episode, plus all of her work, and plus even my free training I'm doing on Thursday, can really help balance your hormones naturally. So make sure you sign up for weekly updates on this podcast if you haven't yet, and get access to my library of episodes where I have her other episode plus a bunch of other ones listed there around hormone and physical health. But also make sure you join me on Thursday for my free training on my top tips to balance your hormones naturally. And make sure you grab her book. please grab her book. I read her last one, The Essential Oils Hormone Solution, and it was powerful and amazing. And I'm so excited to support my clients and even those women in my life who are entering the perimenopause and menopause stage. All right, enjoy this episode. If it blessed you, share it with a friend. But I can't wait to see you on the newsletter, in the free training, and can't wait to hear how the book was for you. All right, see you on the next one. That's it. That's another episode of the More Than Your Weight podcast. I'm so honored that you would allow me to share my thoughts or even share my guest thoughts with you this week. But I want you to know you're not alone. So make sure you join the More Than Your Weight women's community where you can process this podcast and just get support in whatever area you are on in your More Than Your Weight journey. And also make sure you follow me on Instagram. You can message me and just, we can have a conversation. You can process this podcast. Follow me at MadeWell345. All right, that's it. And I will see you on the next episode.